Welcome to the Established Podcast. Conversations with founders, investors, and changemakers shaping the future. Each episode uncovers the stories and lessons driving today's innovation economy. Powered by Established, we spark innovation and build connections that matter through strategy, storytelling, events, community building, investment programs, and more. Now, let's dive in.
And welcome back to the Established Podcast. I'm Frank Gruber, I'm the host and co-CEO of Established, also of Established Ventures, and Established is really excited to have this guest today. We're coming off a big CES event a couple weeks ago where we helped produce the CTA Foundation pitch competition for the last 8 years, and this is the 8th year. And I'm joined by the person that took the top prize, Lumen, their CEO. And if you're not familiar with Lumen, it's a deep tech company focused on assistive technologies for the vision impaired. They've got a really interesting technology and product, and we're going to hear more about it here shortly. But first, I want to introduce a special guest here, Cornel Amariei. He's a Romanian-born inventor and founder of Lumen. He's building smart glasses for the blind and visually impaired. He's actually been shaped by disability, which has helped drive his mission. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. And he started programming at 7, which is pretty phenomenal. He's founded multiple companies now through adulthood, and now he's growing one of the faster growing companies here as a startup, and looking for a mass production of this product here and within the next year. So welcome, Cornel. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for the invitation.
Appreciate it. All right, let's jump in. I always like to kind of dial in on the why and why you started this, and I hinted at it, but I wanted to hear from your words, or in your words. So can you share a little bit about why you started Lumen and building this?
Sure. So basically, I was born in a family of people with disabilities. I'm the only person without a disability in my family. That obviously showed me how much technology can help, but also how little technology exists. So in my family, my parents, my sister, my nephew, some of my cousins, everybody has disabilities, and I'm the only person without one. Definitely had a huge impact on me. First of all, I come from a family of very limited means. I come from Eastern Europe, from Romania, a poor country by the time I was, a very poor country when I was born. Luckily, got better. But at the same time, also coming from a family of people with disability, it was an extra layer. And, it shaped me. It showed me how much could potentially be done and how little is being done. And that's why after I, lived half of my adult life abroad, I came back to Romania to start this company to help people with disabilities.
Awesome. That's really interesting. And why mobility exactly? Is there like a reason behind that? Was it some of the disabilities you encountered in your family, or is it just you chose one?
Sure. Multiple. The way we got to building assistive technology for people with visual impairment is a long story. But basically, both of my parents have locomotive disabilities, so mobility is a key problem in their lives. And I was born in that family, so all of that. At the same time, I have my previous role was head of innovation in one of the largest automotive companies in the world, and I worked on self-driving, and I worked on a lot of things related to mobility. And then if you look at disabilities, you have a ton of solutions for a ton of disabilities. But if you map and you see exactly where it's lacking the most, visual impairment is by far where technology has impacted the least. And because it's very, very hard, because mobility of the visually impaired is a huge problem. And we just got used to solutions which are incredibly old and not necessarily scalable. I said, okay, I'm an engineer, the tougher the problem, the better the work. So I just selected it. But also knowing people with this disability, dreaming about this when I was much younger than when I started the company, things like this. And in the end, I said, okay, let's try it. And here we are 5 years later.
I guess for those that are not familiar, I think it's important to kind of let's set some guidelines as to what you actually are doing, so it's easy to kind of follow along. So talk a little bit more about the product and what it's actually doing. I don't know if you have it on you or not, but what does it do and how does it work?
Sure. Funny enough, I'm in our headquarters, but I'm on the wrong floor, so I don't have one with me. Basically, let me start with the problem. You have 300 million people which are visually impaired, but if you check what solutions they use for their mobility, they use the same 2 solutions for thousands of years. They use the white cane, and they use the guide dog, or the service dog, as you call it. And now the dog is a great solution. It does amazing things. But last year we spent $500 million to train 2,000 guide dogs. So it's incredibly expensive to train and take care of a guide dog. And there are very, very few of them. So in the entire world, you have 300 million visually impaired, but you only have 28,000 service dogs, which it's even if everybody knows about them, they're very, very few. So we said, hey, what if we can use technology to replicate what the service dog or the guide dog is doing for the visually impaired? And that's what we built. We built a self-driving car, but not one which drives on the road, but actually one which you hold on your head, and we call them the glasses for the blind, and they actually replicate what the guide dog for the blind does. So to make an analogy, if a guide dog would work by pulling your hand, avoiding you from obstacles, keeping you on the sidewalk, helping you cross a crossing, and all of that, it does all of that by pulling your hand. We do the same, actually more, our device does the same and more, but it doesn't pull your hand because it's not on your hand, it's actually on your head. So it actually pulls your head. So we have a haptic interface on your forehead, and you feel how it pulls your head, avoids you from obstacles, keeps you on the safe side, takes you to your destination, etc. It's immensely intuitive, tested by more than 500 blind people from more than 40 countries at this point. And it's basically a self-driving car which you hold on. We say it's Tesla for your head, basically Tesla for your head, or Tesla for the visually impaired, because it's incredibly similar technology, just miniaturized to something which you can comfortably wear on your head.
A lot lighter than a Tesla on your head. How much does this little device weigh? And I guess what is the setup as far as people, like what can a head handle as far as weight goes and all that?
I'm from Europe, so I will have to answer in grams. It's around 950 grams, which I believe is roughly 2-point-something pounds. But it's very, very important how the weight is distributed. So it's not about the weight, it's about how you actually distribute the weight and what comfort surfaces you have and everything. And it's designed to be comfortably worn by more than 90% of the human population, adult population. So that we spent 900 hours of research and testing specifically in ergonomics to make it as comfortable as possible. Again, it's everything Tesla does in a 2-ton car. We had to put into something of like hopefully 2 pounds something, if my conversion is right, on your head. But that's all. You charge it once a night, you put it on your head, and you have a full day battery life, and you can explore the world with it.
So what does it do? What kind of technology is it using to kind of be able to map out where obstacles are?
Yeah. It does multiple things there. So first of all, it has 6 cameras. 3 of them look far, 3 of them look very, very near. And the first thing it does, it understands where the ground is. So like, where are your feet touching the ground? What's the ground in front of you? That's the first step. Then it determines what obstacles are above or below that ground. So for example, if I have like some buried people or a pothole, for example, an obstacle below the ground and stuff like that. So we detect the world geometrically. First of all, we determine what height you have, how that height is changing, where the ground is, what obstacles are above it or below it. But that's still not enough. You need to go one step further. Just because something is flat, it doesn't mean it's safe to walk on. And example, the road, the automotive road, the car road, that's flat, and also sidewalk is flat. But you want to walk on the sidewalk, not on the road. And that's where we use AI to determine a lot what surfaces are in front of you. Is this a safe surface? Is this an unsafe surface? That's actually very, very funny in the world of robotics. If you put a robot in front of a lake, it will see it's flat and it will try to walk into it because it's flat. So that's where we use.
Not good.
Yeah, that's where we use AI, and then we basically create real time, like 30 times a second or more, 60 times a second. We understand all of this. And then we compute how we can take you, what path can we take you, avoiding you from obstacles, keeping you on the safe side, keeping you on the safe surfaces, not in lakes or puddles or mud or snow or stuff like that. And then we keep you on that path using the haptics, which I described, so basically pulling your forehead. So that's what it technically does. It's basically what a self-driving car does, but we are using haptics to tell a human what to do. We don't spin wheels. But it does everything the self-driving car does. And it's actually, in some cases, actually much more difficult than a self-driving car. In some cases better, in some cases more difficult. For example, if you think of roads, car roads, they look pretty much the same everywhere in the world. Yes, there are variations, but they kind of look the same. But if you think of sidewalks or the pedestrian infrastructure, it's in the same city you can have 10 types of sidewalks. So it's much more...
there's no
pedestrian
guardrails
infrastructure
on the sidewalk, right? There's nothing to stop you from walking off the street. I mean, in the street.
I mean, it can get even worse. You maybe don't even have sidewalks. There are roads like that,
Right.
in
Yeah,
the
dirt.
rural side and stuff like that. So it's in some cases actually a bigger challenge than making self-driving cars. And then we have to do it all on the head, which is also incredibly challenging because we don't have the same luxury of space, of sensors, of computing power, of battery as
Mhm.
a self-driving car would have.
Wow. Yeah, I was thinking about when you mentioned dirt, like the sides of the roads in rural areas, they don't give you a lot of space over there. Sometimes it's a ditch or whatever. So tell me a little bit more about a feature that you're super proud of that maybe people may not appreciate or don't know about maybe until they try it.
One of the things which I think we're not doing a good enough job is representing exactly how it feels. The moment you put it on your head, it makes so much sense. I think we've done this with like 3,000 plus visually capable people. We take a blindfold, we blindfold them, we put a device on, and we say go. In a minute, they can walk safely and everything. And we did this with over 3,000 people. And until the moment they do that, they believe they understood it. But the moment they have it on and they use it and they walk the first 100 yards or 300 yards or something, that's the moment when it really clicks. And it's we have so many videos of people doing that, and then at a random point I remove the blindfold and I see their face and they're blown away about what they did, like avoiding all the people and standing on
Right.
the sidewalk and getting their destination. It's and we simply didn't find a way to represent that in words. That's why it's that kind of thing which is super, super nice to test and doesn't really make sense until you do. But that's one of the things which are very, very proud. The fact that behind this extremely complicated technology, I mean, this is self-driving on your head. Behind all of that, the moment you put it on your head is so simple. We actually had some clinical investigations recently, and there's actually an objective way of measuring how easy it is to use something. And it's called the system usability score. It's a scale designed by some very smart people many, many years ago. The average for a product, like, if you take the most common products in the world, then the average score is 68 out of 100. That's the average score. We have 90 out of 100, which is much more than I expected. And, it makes sense why we had, I remember we had people who couldn't speak English. And the device is in English. I mean, yes, the feedback is haptics and it doesn't really matter what language, but the device talks to you. You have the menu, you have tutorials which teach you how to use it. And all of that is in English. It's translated to like 60 languages, but back then it was just English. And I remember people who didn't speak English testing it. We had no clue. We had no clue how to explain them because they didn't have a translator. They just heard of it, and we know we're hand signing with them, with visually capable people. And then I remember there were visually impaired people, which had companions which barely spoke any English. So it was an extra layer of problems. So we were trying to tell the companion how it works, and they were describing in their language. And then I even have videos of that. And then we start the device, and the blind people run with it, like they go through it directly, and they understood from number one, from the second one. And those are things which make me incredibly, incredibly proud. The fact that behind all of this technology is such a simple interface which people just get. Those are the kind of things which maybe we should represent better. Otherwise, there are a bunch of features which are incredible. Like, you are in the middle of a city and you need to get to another random point. And you can take your smartphone, you can search your destination on Google Maps or Apple Maps, you press share, you share it to the glasses, and the glasses take you there. That's amazing. It's in piloting. It's not yet commercial, that feature, but it will come as a software update to all the devices. And it's the technical complexity of that. It's amazing. The fact that it works pretty much worldwide, but we still have to improve some parts of the user experience. Again, it's amazing. It's the equivalent of general level autonomous driving on unmapped roads, on unmapped places, in places the device never been before. And with all the safety features to respect the medical device certification, because again, this is a medical device, so it has to be inherently safe. So those are the kind of things which I'm incredibly proud from a technical perspective of the device.
Right, that's great. Congrats on all that. It sounds like a huge feat. So, question: you mentioned the guidance with the maps. Where does it draw the line with the device between like guidance and user control? So, like, how does that work? Like, there's a handoff there, like where I want to go versus where it's taking me.
Yeah. There are two answers and two modes on this device. So let me give you the two answers. First of all, we only give input. We give the input to a visually impaired person, and they decide what to do with that input. The input which we give is incredibly safe. There are multiple redundant systems which check it. It has passed medical certification, so it's inherently safe. And in the worst case, when the device is not sure about something, it will stop you immediately. That's the safe state. Like, stop you immediately, you're safe. If you're standing, you're safe. If you're walking, that's when problems can appear.
As long as you're not in the middle of the road, right? Like, don't stop
Even in
the
those cases, true. But even in those cases, we will never take you to a road, and there's so many safety. There are situations in which we have to take you on the road. Let me give an example here in Eastern Europe. A lot of, unfortunately, a common practice, and it's not only here, it's in many places. Some people park their cars on the sidewalk. It's not legal, it's not nice, and they block the sidewalk. How can I pass a blind person? Well, a guide dog, what a guide dog or service dog would do, it will take you a bit on the road to pass that parked car, and we do the same. But the level of safety mechanisms, the way we track the user when he's doing that, and all of that, it doesn't give errors. I mean, the errors which we give is always in the direction of being too cautious, never in the direction of being more unsafe. And the system is designed in a way in which the chances of giving you an error which goes towards unsafety, I do not know how to represent that number, but it's incredibly small. So those are the things. But now it comes to the second part of the question. We only give input. The user decides what to do with it. So, and we saw these things. Like, for example, the device was pulling you to the left, and the human continued going forwards. And actually, even worse, they turned their head to the left and they continue going forwards. And now we have safety features for that, in which basically we stop you immediately. It's actually a component. We called it NeuroScore. It's just an internal name. And it basically always tracks the level of alertness that the user has compared to the input which is being given. So if the user disobeys input, we will stop you immediately. Because if you disobey our input, then you do not need our input, basically. But those are the kind of safety mechanisms which we have. Otherwise, the device works together with a white cane, so people can still be using their white cane. We do not want to replace the white cane. We don't want to replace the guide dog either. I mean, there are too few of them. So we just want to bring the same benefits as the guide dog to all the people who can't have one. And the white cane, I would still recommend using it. And it was actually a massive technological challenge because, having something in front of you, which you always have in front of you, that's an obstacle. The device detects it as an obstacle. So we had to train the device to ignore the white cane as an obstacle. And it comes with a lot of...
ask about that. Like some of the obstacles that edge cases, like reflective surfaces, you mentioned lakes and water and maybe glass doors, screen doors sometimes are hard to see, low-hanging branch. I'm trying to think of other things like that. How are you handling all those things?
So basically, first of all, we have multiple cameras. So we use the data from multiple cameras to understand, basically, you have multiple technologies to sense how far something is. You have LiDAR, you have radar, you have things like that. What we use is stereo vision, the same way that humans are built. So we have two cameras, we compare what the left and the right one sees, and that's how we perceive depth. That's what humans do, that's what we do, but we don't have just two, we have four. Two in the front, two in the near. On top of that, we have some more special cameras, which we use a ton of AI on them to also understand from that area. So we compare two different sources of data, and we take the decision upon which is the least safe. So if one says there's an obstacle, the other one doesn't say it's an obstacle, it's not clear, we say it's an obstacle, and we just compute a way around it. Obviously, there are challenges with reflective survey. I mean, at this point, in most cases, we see better than a human can see. That's a reality. We see better than a human can see. The edge cases which we have are already solved in different ways. So to give you an example, if you have a glass, it can happen, modern office building, it's all glass, like all of it is glass. True. But at the same time, you can see the end of the surface which is not glass. So for example, if I have on the floor, I have a floor, first of all, I see where the floor finishes. And I take that as the answer, not where the glass is, for example. So there are multiple, and also reflections, because we have multiple cameras, we cancel them because some of the cameras are really looking down. They see it very differently than the cameras which are looking up. And when you sum all of that, it leads to not really getting any kinds of errors because there's always some data which use multiple models on that. So luckily, after 500 plus visually impaired individuals which have been using these systems, there have been no adverse events. So this will be never been an incident with one of our devices. And actually, one thing which happened recently, which it scared me terribly for 1 minute. We get a phone call that one of our clients got injured, and I panicked immediately. But then I found out how. She was not using. She's a guide dog user, so she has a guide dog, and also she has our device. And she, particularly in that day, she was using the guide dog. With the guide dog, she had a major injury, a bad injury. Let's put it this way. I think minutes after she removed the device, which it's unfortunate, but at the same time, she never got an injury with the device. And from numbers, even from statistics, I mean, at this point, having so much data, we can do statistics. And again, I love the service dog. It's a tremendous sacrifice which a dog does to have that job. I mean, they're born and raised for this, and they have a great life, but they are working. 8 hours, 12 hours a day. They are working, and it's hard. But it's also so hard to maintain their performance. It's so hard if you don't take proper care of the guide dog, its performance will decrease. And I saw that so many times. I saw examples of, because we do a lot of testing with people who have guide dogs, and I see for example, actually, I think I have numbers on this. I saw students which have guide dogs, and during the exam periods, their guide dogs became worse because their owners couldn't take care of the guide dogs because they had exams. And you see it, like you do testing every 3 months, and you see that degrading performance or that upgrading performance depending on how much care you take, which with technology doesn't really apply. Technology works kind of the same as long as you charge it. But again, unfortunately, too few people have a guide dog, and there are all the other millions which don't, and those are the people which we want to help. But I'm also surprised that people who have a guide dog want our product, because it kind of does the same, but it gives you liberty. It allows you to do things and not take care on that particular day of the guide dog and stuff like that.
Does, yeah, it's definitely another thing they have to do to take care of the dog, right? So actually I was curious though, what's the so this is hooked to wireless, is that correct? It needs like a wireless network? No, it doesn't need anything.
No.
What does it need to run?
Need internet. It does not need internet.
Okay.
You wouldn't go into a self-driving car if it's reliant on internet.
Right, that's true. What is it? So it just has like a built-in GPS?
Yeah, it has. GPS is one of the least important sensors, actually. The cameras and the way we perceive the environment, that's the most important. It has a supercomputer embedded, so we have in the bag, we have the batteries and a supercomputer, which processes everything.
I was gonna say, it's gonna need some fast processing. This is real-time decision making.
Yeah, it's faster than a human. So the device, the only bottleneck is the human. We just published a video, I think we just published a video last week with blind people running with our device. And even in that case, you cannot get to the limit of the device.
Wow, that's impressive. That's really great. All right, so let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about some of the life cycle of this product. And, you talked about, it's a long story, but we'd love to hear some more of it. How did you get to this? Like, what are the biggest kind of product pivots that kind of got you where you're at today as far as making this glasses product?
Sure. Before starting the company, actually many years ago, I was a student, second-year student in university. I did my university in Germany. I was a second-year student, so I was like 19 or 20 years old, and I wrote a patent for an assistive technology for visually impaired users, which did something which is actually quite common today. It did, at least on a theory, but it also built prototypes. It translated visual information into non-visual information. So what do I mean? If I have an obstacle, I hear it, or I feel like a vest with vibrations on my body representing that obstacle. And I actually built the prototypes on that when I was like 19, and tested them. And in the lab, it works very well when you have one obstacle, maybe two obstacles. But then you go to real life, and real life is so much more complex. In real life, you don't have 1, 2 obstacles. In real life, you have 5, 6.
Yeah, everything's coming at you, right?
Yeah, everything is coming at you. Yeah. And that's where I understood that that's not the way to go. And it's actually not that this is not the way to go. It was proven since the 50s that is not the way to go. In the 1950s, there was a very, very great researcher, Paul Bach-Hirita was his name. And he invented the concept of sensory substitution, which means using a sense which you have to represent a sense which you have lost. So like, feel vibrations on the body where an obstacle is. That's a visual information translated into a non-visual way. But he also proved since back then that unfortunately you cannot replicate sight. You will compress the information, and in the end you will not be able to represent everything that's happening. You will not be able to represent enough information so that you can make a decision. So those are the kind of things which we had in the past. But that's when I understood that, hey, there's not a solution. You will just get to sensory overload. You do not know what to do. It works in the lab. It doesn't work in real life. And I remember I told myself, hey, I think the solution is not this. The solution is to do what the guide dog does. The guide dog doesn't bark 5 times if I have 5 obstacles. No, it just guides me around them. And that's what I should do. But back in 2014, my God, technology was not there. You couldn't have the technology to do that. But I promised myself that when technology will show any sign that it's getting there to something which you could wear comfortably and do this, I'll do it. And that's how I started the company in 2020. I said, okay, the technology is not there yet, but I think it's close. And that was right, sort of. In 2023, it was the first time we built a headset which could do it. So in 2020, we proved the technology in 2021, but it was a 50-pound backpack with cables running, with power from you had to plug it in, and you had a cable next to you. So it was huge. It was huge. And it was the most uncomfortable thing in the world. But it worked. The core concepts were there and they worked. It was just a matter of, can we make this small? And the answer was not really until 2023. That's when we were able to make it small. I think end of 2023. And 2024, we built our first product. And now 2025, we began doing pilots with it. And now it's commercial solution in Europe. We certified as a medical device in December last year. And we have 1,500 pre-orders on it in Romania alone, which again, Romania is a small country. It's 18 million population. But on the way they were out.
That's the classic 13-year instant success, in the making, right?
The last 5 years, basically, it's been.
But before that it was important. Like, you've been working on this for a long time, which is awesome. You've been working at this for a long time, and it's obviously coming to fruition, which is great to see. And a lot of times we pick up on it on the last, when it's finally out there and everything. But it's been percolating for a while, so that's pretty cool to hear.
It's been 5 years. We've been working at this for 5 years. Maybe but you also have to understand something else. We've talked about a product, but we're also a company, and we're a startup. We're a deep tech startup. And here's the thing, which I think too few people understand, even locally. Building the product was hard, but also building the company. And building the company means Romania is it's officially, objectively the least innovative country in the European Union. There's a European Union publishes a score on that, and there are multiple metrics. Romania is always last. For the last 15 years, Romania is the least innovative country in the EU because they were not counting 16 years ago. So we were always the last. Funding for startups is almost inexistent here. Now it picks up, but when we started this in 2020, it was not existing almost. The first deep tech startup in our country is us. We were the first startup based on deep tech in Romania. So getting funding, it was not like we can go to a VC and ask for money. There were almost no VCs when we did this. And all the VCs here never invested in hardware. I think we were also one of the first hardware investment in this country. I think we're the second actually hardware investment in this country. And the other one was a consumer product, so very different. So that also took a lot, to start a company here, to get investment here, to build a team here. Those are things which took, in a country, again, Romania is famous for outsourcing. We have almost no product of our own. We're one of the maybe 10 in total product companies in Romania. Wow. So that also took a lot. So it was not only building the product, which is immensely hard, it was also building the company. And if I put it all together, if everything would have went perfect, with no problems, with no everything, it would have took us 4 years. And it took us 5. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah, no, that sounds like you're blazing a path in the country too. So that's obviously very can be tough, right? It's an uphill battle, but now you're doing it, and it's going to help other startups and founders along the way too, because you're now making setting a precedent of what you can do. That's pretty great. So let's talk a little bit about the business model of this product. It got the individual consumers. You mentioned it's a health product. That's talk a little bit more about how that works. So who are the buyers? Is individuals, sells health systems? Is it like insurers? I don't know. I'm trying to think of who else might
Sure.
governments maybe. I don't know. Employers.
I'll answer from the Europe perspective, from the European Union perspective
Yeah.
specifically, because unfortunately, and now I'm talking about European Union, to certify from a regulatory standpoint, because of the EU, we only have to do it once, and it's available in all EU countries. We have certified, it's available, it's the same rules. But when it comes to market entry, that differs country by country, and even more than country by country. And we're 27 countries in the EU.
Oh
It
wow, so
varies
that's
even.
gonna take time, right? Like that's to get through
Yeah.
each one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's even worse. It's not even country by country. It can go even deeper. It's not like every country has one program. Germany, for example, you have to work with each individual land, which is like well, actually, I have no clue. I think there's 6 of them. Maybe I'm mistaken. I forgot how many of them are. And it varies country by country. In Spain, you work with one association. In Germany, you work with individual lands. In Sweden, you work with municipalities. And it's such a segregated market. It's so hard. I mean, product was hard. Also, this is hard. Selling it is hard. But our dream is very simple. We don't want blind people to pay for this. At least not in the EU, because in the EU we are sort of used with the idea of public healthcare and everything, and with the idea that people who have disabilities, they usually receive assistive technology either at a very low price or for free. And give an example of Romania. In Romania, for example, our glasses are free for a limited number of people, but in the thousand. But they're free because the government is paying us. So we are a B2G2C, to put it that way, in this part. And in multiple parts, we're a B2G2C. Because
Has
we
the
work
government
with...
embraced that? It sounds like having them as a client, obviously, and then also being one of the first companies that's doing deep tech in the country. Have they embraced that and supported you guys?
Oh gosh, it really depends. It really depends. Because government is not one. I mean, you say government, but government is 1,000 different organizations.
True.
Under one name, the government. So it really depends. In some cases, yes. In some cases, not necessarily. But overall, we have a great branding and we are very well known here in this part of the world. So that definitely helped. I would say overall, yes. Overall, I would say yes. And in the end, is the impact which you bring, and you work with people. Even if they're called the government, you work with people, and the moment they test it, they get it, and they want it. It's the problem with selling to, like, B2G, having any sort of G in your B2 something, is time. It takes a long time, but once you go, usually the numbers are high, and that's also with us. It took a year and a half to do this Romanian deal, but here we are. We're beginning to deliver them in a few months. A lot of them, and it'll be scary. We have to manufacture so many. And then we have to... Yeah, it's a good problem to have. Yeah. And then we replicate this with multiple countries. So we look at what we can do in Germany, in France, in Spain, in Sweden, all of this. So we look also at all these things. And obviously it's not something which, people can order from, people can reserve it now from our website. And they do. We have every day, we have orders from different corners of the world. But for me, it's always how we can make it for free or for a very, very low price. And that's where it's very hard. But then comes the US. The US is very different. So in the United States, it's very, very different. It's a much more B2C market than here. Here, it's everybody's reimbursement or subsidies. In the US, we know assistive technologies which were purchased like in the $10,000 range, which were purchased from directly the user or from the family of the user or the caregiver of the user, caretaker, sorry. And you can do thousands and thousands of units of that. We saw that. And it's different than here. But again, we will get there, we will learn, and we'll do great as we did here. But in the end, the purpose is the same. How can we serve as many people as possible?
Yeah, and you are going to look at the US too, or just kind of take it one?
Yeah, no, obviously. We take one by one or multiple by one, but it's a matter of focus. I think we done this wrong before. Back in 2024, for example, we had pilots in Japan, pilots in Europe at the same time, and while it was working, it defocused us a lot, and in the end, it didn't really offer us that much. So we said, okay, we're stopping this. We're going country by country. Romania first, then we go Europe, and then we look abroad. We have massive interest from the Gulf area. We have massive interest from Japan. We have massive interest from the United States, but we can't serve it all at the same time. And on top of building the product, it's also building the customer support, the servicing, all of those things, which we're building them now, and I want to test them here. I want to test them locally, learn what works, what doesn't, and then we go abroad. So I want to take it while we were incredibly I don't know, we were incredibly out of the box and everything when it came to the product development. I mean, we had to build something nobody built. I want to be but I'm trying to be conservative on the market entry to do it nicely and not slowly, but in an approach and smart manner in order to satisfy people from day one. We don't want to find. Somebody told me something great. One of our investors said, when I was telling them about Japan, they said, "Hey, we have this pilot in Japan, big thing." And they said, you know what's the worst thing it can happen in Japan? I was like, what? Having one client in Japan. Because you have to service one client in Japan all the way on the other corner of the world. Take it step by step. So that was like, okay, you are right. Let's do it step by step.
That's a great point. And yeah, the other thing, it seems like you're comfortable with the current funding situation and clients that you have. So I mean, it doesn't seem like you have the urgency, and I could be misreading this, but that you're like, okay, we've got to keep pushing to keep this company going, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're in an incredibly good financial position. We are in an incredibly good financial position. We have money even for 2028 already. So and that very few companies can say that, especially startups. We can, and we are pushing towards extending that forever. I mean, it's a game in which the one, I don't know who said that quote. I'm pretty sure somebody smart said it. It's not a game of the smartest. It's not the game of the funniest. It's not the game of the fittest. It's the game of who lives it the longest.
Yeah, marathon, right? All right, so let's talk a little bit about supply chain situations, because I feel like sometimes you hear about these, bottlenecks. Like, what's the most hardest bottleneck or thing that you've seen so far in producing physical products? It can be difficult.
Well, we started during COVID, and during COVID, I grew up.
Okay,
I grew up, but I grew up in a world where, in the electronics place, I mean, again, we are a software company with a custom hardware, so we also build our own hardware, but we're a software company. But unfortunately, we do have to build our hardware. There were no glasses for the blind we can program so we had to build it also. And I grew up in a world where if you want electronic parts, you can have them tomorrow shipped from anywhere in Europe. So there was no concept of a part not being in stock. Maybe if a part was not in stock, you have 10 alternatives which were in stock. But then we started this company. We got into a world where you could wait components for 6 months. And it's better now, but again, now we have a huge RAM crisis and storage crisis because of all the data centers and everything, and it's also affecting us. And that goes into a huge logistical mess, because on one hand, you want to build your stocks so you're secure. You want to have stocks to build glasses whenever you want them to be built. On the other hand, you don't want to lock so much capital into it, because again, it's not cheap. I mean, I really don't want to lock $300,000 or $400,000 in components to build 200, 300, 400 glasses. But at the same time, I don't want an order to come and me to answer them, sorry, I'll give you in 9 months. So it's always a compromise between these two things. Like how much flexibility to deliver fast I want versus how much money I have to lock into it. And that problem, I mean, as now we have to manufacture a lot of them very, very soon, that problem will play a lot this year. I think will be one of the problems this year in which we will get very good at supply chain management and everything. And you only get good at it by failing. So we will probably fail a few times. Probably there will be orders which we ship in a month, and probably there will be orders which we ship in 6 months. Which in the end, for an assistive technology, I mean, if you buy a custom wheelchair, it kind of takes 6 months to get it. So it's not unheard of. But at the same time, I want to offer a great experience for the people who want and need our product. So it will always be a compromise between these two.
Okay, let's move the conversation a little bit along towards competition and kind of your moat in general. There are other competition. We've actually had one last year. We saw if it was doing something not in the similar setup or way of doing it, but it was trying to figure this problem out. So let's talk about how you look at competition, whether it be service, devices or camera-based assistants or wearables or whatever you want to call it. How do you look at that and I guess assess the field and where you're at and try to figure out where to go, where to skate to?
Sure. So, first of all, we're not competing with the guide dog, the service dog. We're not replacing that. We're offering the same benefits for which
Right.
the service dog brings, but to all the people who can't have one.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that people with service dogs want our product. I'm surprised about that, but I do understand why. But we're not competing. Service dogs do an immensely great job, and they're, I know a lot of them, and they're absolutely amazing. And I'm just, how do we offer more people that? And that's what we technically came with. Then on the competition side, first of all, I was describing a bit earlier about the idea of representing the visual environment in a non-visual way. So like you hear obstacles or you feel obstacles, and there are a lot of competition in that direction. Every year I go to CS and I see more startups doing that. And then I come 1 year later and they're no longer there. There are other startups doing that. And it's, the first time I ever been to CS was 3 years ago. First time I've been to CS, I was like, oh my God, we have so many competitors like doing stuff. And then by the second year, I got a bit wiser and I understood, hey, wait, they're overnight companies, they last 1 year and then they fail because they fundamentally try to solve in a way which is proven for 76 years that it doesn't work. So let's get that out. Then you have things which give you information about the environment. Those are not competition, they're complementary. So let's see, the Meta Ray-Ban glasses, which again, is not the glasses, it's the model which take data from the camera and tell you what they see. So that has nothing to do with mobility, that has things to do with scene description, with giving you more information. It can tell you I'm in a room, it can tell you I have a table in front of me, but it cannot guide me to the door. It will tell me, there's a door over there, like a bit to the right. But it can't guide me to it. It can't, avoid me from the Lego, which is sitting on the floor right now because somebody didn't clean here. It can't do those things. We deal with mobility. It can read, it can do all of it, but it doesn't do with mobility. That's what we do, and we are unique in that. And it's a complementary product. We do integrate some of the features which they do. We do integrate it into our product, not because we want to compete anyhow with them. We don't want to compete with them. But because since we have the hardware capabilities and we have the software capabilities, let's offer something which also includes that because that's useful. On the mobility space, I only see one company, and it's only one company in the world who's also in the mobility for the blind space. And I think that's Glidance from the USA. I think they're the only ones tackling roughly the same as a commercial. They're not commercial, but it's something which would be commercial. They're the only ones. They're doing it in a different way. I respect everybody who's building something for people with disabilities. There's too few of us who do things for people with disabilities. So I do respect their work and I know how hard it is. I do not believe that their solution is the best form factor. So I don't believe that the direction they have selected is the best. It's the most closest to what guide dogs are doing. But if you fundamentally, Glidance is doing something which is like a guide dog with wheels and you push it and it directs you and it steers you and all of that. So they're the closest to what we do. But I believe that the reason we have guide dogs who are pulling your hand is because there was nothing else which can do that. It doesn't mean that if you build a technological solution, I don't think that the robot dog is the technical solution which would guide you. I think it comes with more drawbacks and advantages. I think there are better ways of doing it. That's why we build a wearable. Because it's better than building something else. That's our opinion. That's what we are going in. We might be wrong or we might be right. We have $10 million in pre-orders.
Wow.
So we must be doing something right.
How many?
Over $10 million in pre-orders.
Holy smokes. That's fantastic.
Only in Romania, 10 million.
Wow.
We haven't yet opened internationally. So we must be doing something right.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Let's switch gears, talk a little bit more about privacy. I mean, you are in public spaces using cameras, things like that. Meta does a similar thing with their glasses. Just wanted to understand how you design it with, making sure there's integrity and trust and all that. The data
so
you're pulling in.
It's amazingly simple. We don't need internet. The glasses never record. Everything is done, record. It takes one photo, it takes the computer decides, erases the photo. That's how it works. So it never records, it never sends data on the internet, no visual data, no nothing. So it's as simple as that. While other solution like Meta, again, not a competitor, but was a technical comparison, the models are in the cloud. So they take a photo, they upload it to the cloud, then the cloud has to process it, and then they have to send back the answer. And that comes with two things. One is slower, but wintering is better, so it will be eventually not be as slow as it is today. And the second thing, yes, it is privacy, because especially here in the EU, where we are very big on privacy. If the models would be in the USA, we would not do it. So I think, don't quote me, but I think it's illegal to take a photo here and have it processed by a model in the USA and then send the answer back. I don't think that's legal.
Wow.
So we are very big on privacy in Europe.
That's great.
It sometimes is good, sometimes it hinders innovation a bit, but it comes from a good point, from a good direction. And what we do, we don't need the internet for what we do. So that's how privacy is not an issue. Yes, we have 6 cameras. Yes, they take one photo at a time, but then they delete it immediately. There are some very few situations in which the user can ask us to connect to the device. So the user can ask us support from the device, but then they have to physically press the buttons and everything and agree. And once they press agree, that's the only moment when the device calls us, not we the device. And that's where we can actually connect the device, but that's very specific and only with user input. Otherwise, the perfect example is our colleagues. Our colleagues, we test it all the time. We test it all the time. Our colleagues are going to the bathroom with it and they're not minding. It means it's safe.
Right.
Now, if the people who develop them have the courage to go to the bathroom with them, I think it's safe.
Yeah, that's a good test. I have Meta glasses and I don't wear them in the bathroom, so it's tells you something, right? All right, let's move along. The CTA Foundation pitched for the 8th time here. They've had this pitch event at CES. You won it this year. Congratulations! That was a great win. You did a nice pitch. Wanted to ask you how that went and what if that unlocked anything for you when you were in Las Vegas a few weeks ago.
Well, give a bit of a parallel. I was born here in Eastern Europe in a family of people with disabilities. I know what hunger is. I know what not having a house means. I've been through all that. I had a rough beginning of life and many rough places during growing up. And you in January when you were little or when you were like high school stuff, you watch TV and they say the CS thing is happening in Las Vegas. And you're like thinking, wow, maybe one day in your life you'll see that. Because it's like one of the things that you coming from this part of the world, you never think you'll see it. And then winning the CS Innovation Award and the CTA pitching competition in the same 2 days, it just shows how much you can do if you're willing to sacrifice a lot and if you have the ambition to do it. So first of all, it just proves you can do it wherever you are from. You can do it. If we were able to do it from here, knowing where we started, knowing where I started, everything is achievable if this was achievable. So that was number one. Number two, you work at this so much and you work 14 hours a day, weekend included, for so many years. And to get that kind of recognition, it's really humbling. It means that you're actually doing something right. And on the what it bought as well, today I actually got an email from a very interesting company. I will not say the name of the company. I'll keep I'll keep it anonymous. But there are at this point one which started today and one which started when I was there, 2 very high profile partnerships which will help us and will help the people which we serve. So there are direct things which I can connect to winning that. Plus, we have mapped 120 press articles from like 50 countries coming out of that.
Wow,
so it went pretty well.
I guess that's
a
big win. But I love the inspiration of it too. Like you said, you came from humble beginnings, and here you are living the dream, making it happen, and thinking as a kid, like, wow, wouldn't that be great someday? And there you are, taking home the win with the pitch, and then obviously you also got that 2016 Innovation Award honoree as well. So that's a two-fer in your trip to Vegas. Had you been to Las Vegas before?
It's our first CS. I've been to CS. I've been to Las Vegas 4 times in the last 3 years, all of them, or 5 times I think in the last 3 years. Yeah. I mean, obviously the most amazing one was the first. I mean, this one
Right.
really competes. Winning the CS Innovation Award, the City of Foundation Award, it was huge. But it was the fifth time I was there, and the third time in CS. The first time when you had no clue and like what is happening here, like seeing something so huge. So I think it goes there. I mean, the best two CSs and Las Vegas experiences were the first and this one because of the things which happened. So yeah,
Right.
it's pretty cool.
That's fantastic. Cool. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Wanted to kind of round it out here with some kind of more, I guess, feedbacky kind of things that might be helpful for folks. I guess in the same vein, it's like what are some of the pieces of feedback you've gotten from users that have really kept you moving? Like, I know you probably hear from users all the time, both good and bad, right? But tell me a little bit more about like anything that kind of stuck out to you in your journey that's kind of like gotten you to move forward. Yeah.
Two of them definitely. One was close to the beginnings and one was a month or two ago. Close to the beginning, we had like this huge prototype which you had like a strap on your to hold all the computers in a backpack, and then the helmet, which that was like 6-7 pounds back then, so it was like 50 pounds in total with cables and everything.
And now it's two. That's amazing. That's huge.
I know. I know. We will get to one, and hopefully we'll get to half. Let's see. Technology can get there. But when it was back then, I remember like second blind person whichever tested it. Second blind person whichever tested it, again, was very rough. It was nothing compared to what we have today. But we built this big obstacle course in a big hall with stuff and everything. It was still during COVID. Everybody was wearing masks. And they do, for the first, he was the second person in the world who was guided by anything else but a guide dog or a human companion. And he does this course without touching anything. It was great. And at the end, he was so excited, and he told me one thing which I always remember. I expected something like this to exist, but not during our lifetime. And that was one of the, because I have a video of that. And that's one of the things which just kept me for a long time. And there are multiple ones like this, but that one was really at the beginning when everything was so unpolished, so big, so complicated and everything. I had no clue if it works or not. And it came in the second testing. Like in the first day, second testing, second hour ever being tested by a blind person, it worked. And another one happened, I think a month or two ago, during one of our clinical investigations. And there was this person, I think he was in his 50s. And he was really against technology, really against, and really against us. Not really clear why. But against technology, against all of that, multiple reasons. He was a hater. So he was a hater. Worst person to invite to a clinical investigation upon you depend on the results of the clinical investigation.
Right.
But he was invited anyway. It was not my decision. It was our head of clinical investigation invited. We didn't really know how much of a hater he was. He arrived there toward the clinical investigation side and he trashed us. He demoralized everybody in the team during that. And then we put a device on and he does the tutorials. The device teaches you how to use it and does the tutorial. And he was okay. And then he went outside and he began walking. And I was not there, but the team told me. And some people which I really don't get emotional in the team, they told me this. And they said, I think he walked 200 or 300 yards and he apologized and he began crying. And he apologized for everything. Like, he couldn't believe it. And that's like, if you can have a hater and convert into that, it's amazing. And there were multiple ones in the past. I remember a woman which visually impaired and her son, which like 16 years old. And it was the first time he saw his mother walking alone. He began crying in like 20 seconds. And then the mom began crying like after a minute because the son was crying. So things like that, there are a few of them. That happened in Vienna. I remember specifically in Vienna, there's something in Austria which happened. So there are a few of those. Otherwise, obviously, we get a lot of feedback.
For people emotionally because you're making things positively change for them. So that's pretty impressive. Mm-hmm. And
but it also comes with a lot of feedback. It also comes with make it smaller, make it lighter. I don't understand this. I want that. I don't like it like this. It comes with a billion. And one of the things which I think very people realize, when you design something for people with disabilities, the kind of feedback you will get, it will not be constantly one thing. it will be a billion things, a billion different things, like a billion. We had people which put it the wrong way on their head, like so many things which were just out of nowhere. And everybody wants something very, very specific. It's not like one solution fits all, but you have to make the decision of how you cluster that feedback and how you act upon it, because you cannot act upon all of it.
Right. You can't do everything. You've got to state your kind of plan, but also take it back and say, okay, is this real? We really need to do. That makes sense. And I think seems like you're doing that, and you've got a vision for making it smaller and lighter and easier to use and more user friendly. So not that you're not already, but just everything can always continue to improve, right? So all right, if people want to find your, let's say somebody's listening and wanted to like try the product out, is that doable, or are you pre-ordering, or what's the way to get connected to y'all?
Depends where in the world. Right now we draw now in Romania first, then we do Europe, and then we do abroad, so the USA, for example. But the best thing possible, go to .lumen.com, so dotlumen.com. That's our website. Follow us on our social media, register to our newsletter, and we'll keep you updated with what is happening around here. And we have a plan. Next year I think we're gonna be very, very present in your side of the world. Probably even this year. So yeah, and we have great partners from the USA, and we're building some great things. I mean, you can see, like last week we published a huge video with Arrow Electronics, a huge public company from the USA, the biggest distributor of electronics. They help us with building the glasses and with the supply chain, and we filmed a video together, which is absolutely amazing. And probably gonna do a few more things together.
Fantastic. Sounds like it's going really well. Thank you so much for being here and for your time. I know it's late where you're at. Appreciate you being here and sharing your journey, and congratulations again. You did a fantastic job at CES, and that's a big win, and obviously a very inspirational story for you to share with our listeners. So thanks so much for being here. For those that are listening, remember, you can do what he's doing. Just got to get at it and do it. Keep going, iterating. It's a journey. So if you want to get started, definitely join our community. Go to the Established Network over at established.network and get the support that you need to take your startup to the next level. Until next time, I'm Frank Gruber, signing off. Thanks so much, Cornel, for being here and sharing your knowledge.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Established Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, leave us a review in the App Store, and share the show with friends, colleagues, and on social. Together, we can help more innovators become established. We'll be back with another conversation soon.